I'll be honest with you, I was never a really big fan of the Rolling Stones. I was aware of them when I was a kid, but I listened to a lot of Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, The Doors. I never got into the Stones. I know the catalog. I like a lot of their songs. I've never been a mega fan. I reviewed their last album, Hackney Diamonds, and I liked it, but it's not something that I went back to a lot. So I didn't have huge expectations going into this one, and honestly, I think it might be better than Hackney Diamonds. I like the songs in here a lot, so let's talk about it. Foreign Tongues is the 25th studio album by the legendary English rock band The Rolling Stones, released on July 10th, 2026, just 3 years after their acclaimed comeback record, Hackney Diamonds. And what's wild is the pace here. This isn't a band coasting into their 80s. This is a band working fast, working live, and working inspired. The bulk of the record was tracked live over an intense 1-month stretch at Metropolis Studios in West London, an intimate room that gave the whole thing a raw, high-energy feel. Behind the board again is Grammy-winning producer Andrew Watt, who also helmed the Hackney Diamonds, with longtime rhythm session players Darryl Jones on bass and Steve Jordan on drums, holding it all down. The album has a lot of emotional moments. The track Hit Me in the Head features the late Charlie Watts using tracks from his final sessions before passing in 2021. So we have the original Stones band running through this entire album. The guest list is all stacked because it's the Rolling Stones, and of course, Robert Smith from The Cure adds synths and backing vocals, Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers, who seems to be on like every album these past couple of years, but he plays drums. Paul McCartney shows up on track and sessions, Steve Winwood and Ben Montek bring keys, organ, and piano, and Bruno Mars just has this little short piece, one of those things, if you blink, if you miss it, kind of cameo type of thing. I don't even remember where he was, but it's kind of like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame guest book. But I like to talk about the good and the bad. So let's talk about the good first, and there's a lot of good stuff. So first, Mick Jagger's voice. The man is 82 years old, and he doesn't sound like it. He's shifting from playful falsetto to the dance-leaning tracks to that punk snarl without missing a step. That alone is remarkable. Second, the album leans into what I'd call classic Stones comfort food. There's no forced pop experimentation here, no chasing trends. You get the interlocking slide guitars from Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood, heavy harmonica, and that soulful, gospel-leaning backing vocal sound they've always done so well. And number three, and this is what I actually love about them, they haven't mellowed politically at all. Jagger's still talking sharp, witty swings at autocrats, current world leaders, and billionaires shooting themselves into space. For a band as old, there's zero complacency in the writing. And fourth, the energy is just kinetic, even with some slicker production choices from Andrew Watt. There are stretches of the record that sound like a band 60 years younger. You can hear the room, you can hear them enjoying playing together live, and that's something worth talking about. So let's talk about the bad stuff. The album is not flawless. There's not a lot of bad stuff. Like, there's nothing here that like ruins the album, but there are a few things that bring it down a little bit. So let's talk about it. I think the first one is the track list is a little bloated. 14 songs, 62 minutes. It could have been trimmed down a little bit. Maybe 3 or 4 of the more generic mid-tempo cuts could have been just trimmed off, and it would have a punchier and tighter pacing. Also, the back half sags a little bit. The first half is loaded with crunchy blues and forward momentum, and then the second half slows down, loses some of that drive. I think Keith's vocal track, Some of Us, is the biggest offender for me. It's a nice sentiment, and I know he likes to record at least one song on pretty much all their albums, but it kind of brings the pacing down a little bit. And the production, we all know Andrew Watt. He has this clean, very clean production, and sometimes the tracks lean into auto-tune and has that very slick processed sound. And it kind of strips away that raw organic grit that you know from the Rolling Stones because it's the Stones. Now, it's not a deal breaker, but if you like the classic stuff, like this album is going to sound different. So now I'm going to go through track by track. Rough and Twisted is bluesy guitars right out the gate. It sounds like their 70s sound, nice guitar piano work, harmonic in there too, driving rhythm, and a strong opener. In the Stars brings back late 70s, early 80s Stones, but with a modern sheen, polished, with classic guitar tone, and a really cool solo in the back half. Jealous Lover is a little funky. Mick doing the falsetto reminded me of Emotional Rescue from 1980. Feels modern too, a good groove. Mr. Charm is an upbeat rocker with an 80s edge, memorable chorus, great bass tone. And I read a lot of comments about people comparing this one to the song Shattered, and I get why. Then there's Divine Intervention, Plur, blues rock driving rhythm, falsetto in the chorus, old school rock and roll vibe with a great slide guitar solo. Ringing Hollow is one of their country excursions. The Stones love to write in this style. I've never been a big fan of it personally, so it was just okay for me. Never Want to Lose You, a really good upbeat rocker, captures the band at 1970s peak. Jagger sounds great here, one of my favorites on the record. Hit Me in the Head, one of the harder rockers. Honestly, kind of heavy for the band, tons of energy. And knowing Charlie Watts is playing on this one makes it hit even harder. Actually, one of the best tracks on the album. You Know I'm No Good is a cover of an Amy Winehouse song. Now, not many bands can pull off Amy, but the Stones bring that funky blues sound that bridges their 70s and 80s era, and I think they pulled it off, and it works. At this point, the album starts to take a little dip. So we have Some of Us, Keith Richards on lead vocals, laid back folky, classic Richards sound. It drags a little, but it's not horrible. Covered in You, Paul McCartney appeals in this one, which is wild considering he just released his own album. It's funky, great harmonica, Paul on bass, really good track. Side Effects, another hard rocker. I like the guitar tone here. I like the catchy chorus, and one of my favorites in the whole album. Then there's Back in Your Life, a little more laid back. Ron Wood delivers an awesome guitar solo. It's a great track. The album closes with the cover song, Beautiful Delilah, very vintage, and it's a cover of a Chuck Berry classic, and it's a great full-on circle moment because Berry's Come On was the Stones' very first single back in 1963. Has that Delta blues sound, great slide guitar. I can imagine Led Zeppelin recording this. Maybe they did, I just don't know. But it's a classic way to end the record. So, like I said, it's better than Hackney Diamonds for me. Not a perfect album, a little long. Few songs bring the energy down a little bit, but the production is also a little too slick, but there's a lot of good stuff here. And Mick Jagger, he sounds great. The guest list is insane, and having Charlie Watts is just worth another mention. So I'm going to give this album 8.5 out of 10. So you can check out my review of Hackney Diamonds. It should be appearing on the screen right now. And thanks for watching. Please like the video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.